What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy. Welcome back to the Savvy Show. And before we get started, just want to hope that you guys all enjoyed or had a good holidays with family and friends back where you guys, located in this crazy world we live in. And also, I'm feeling kind of good today, so you already know what that means. We're diving deep into another SCP animation reaction. And today, this one's going to be juicy because it's from none other than DrBob, guys. You know the hype with him. The vibe with him is always surreal. So I'm excited for this one. And this one, seems pretty normal on surface level, but I'm sure it's going to be way more complicated than what it appears to be with just the title alone and even the thumbnail. This is SCP-056, a beautiful person. So with this one, I'm going to assume, yeah, it's a beautiful person, but it might not be a person per se. I'm assuming it might be something that can like shapeshift, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In layman's terms, it's subjective. Like anything could be beautiful, to be honest. So I'm assuming this person could probably, or entity, could shift in different races, different species, different beings, and that's like the gimmick of this SCP. If there's anything else added onto that, that would be kind of cool. But if it's not that whatsoever, I'll be really surprised. I'm even more intrigued to see what this is all about. So with that all out the way, if you guys are excited for this reaction and you do enjoy it along the way, please remember to smash that like button for me. Also smash that sub button and then hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And now, without any further ado, let's get this show started.
12 seconds later.
Also, before we dive deep, if my voice sounds a little bit more raspier than usual, it's just because I was under the weather recently and I'm just starting to feel really healthy and good now. So, if my voice ain't hitting the same, it's because of that. Now, with that being said, let's get started with SCP-056, a beautiful person. Let's hit it.
The gleaming steel scissors glide effortlessly through the sheet of red material, slicing through as if nothing was there. The blood-red fabric parts to either side. A pair of hands pick up one of the pieces and hold it up into the air. The man admires his handiwork before draping the cloth on a dress form and pinning it in place. Although there are many tables in the large room with sewing machines and mannequins next to them, they're all empty. The man works all alone in the big room. And it is impossible not to notice that he's an incredibly handsome man, too. So good-looking that no matter your preferences, you can't help but stop and take notice of his perfect facial features, his slim, fit physique, his lithe, dexterous hands. He brushes a strand of dirty blonde hair away from his vibrant blue eyes and takes a pin out of his mouth before adjusting the fabric just a millimeter more before sticking it in place. The man steps away from the dress form and admires his work. There. Absolutely perfect. There's no doubt that this will be the closing look of the upcoming fashion show.
Is he going to create
another
SCP?
Masterpiece, just like him. But that doesn't mean that he's finished. There's still much to be done, and he goes back to work at his table, sewing bits of fabric together to create embellishments for the opulent couture gown. He's so focused on his new design that he doesn't notice the fashion house's operating manager in the hall outside the workroom.
You're staring like that.
The manager points through the glass window in the door and tells the two police officers with him that this is the man they're looking for. There's been a number of tragic and mysterious crimes involving people connected to this fashion company, and the police have finally closed in on a suspect.
Oh no.
Well, not the police exactly, but two SCP Foundation agents posing as police officers. The Foundation became suspicious after learning that there had been several missing persons, murders, and mental breakdowns, all of which involved people connected to this one company.
But why him, though?
More specifically, they were all connected to one man. There was plenty of evidence that something more than just regular criminal activity was happening here.
Oh, he must be the SCP. Wow, I'm blown.
Something strange was happening.
That's probably it.
Something anomalous.
I'm assuming.
One of the police officers nods at his partner before gesturing for the manager to leave. It's always better not to have civilians present during a containment.
Oh, God.
The incredibly handsome man still hasn't noticed his guests in the hall, remaining completely absorbed in his work. And he doesn't even look up when the two agents burst into the room, both with guns drawn, not taking any chances. "Freeze! Drop your weapon!" one of the agents shouts. But the beautiful man doesn't respond, and just continues snipping away at fabric with his scissors.
Does he not care?
"I said freeze!" he commands again. And this time, the handsome man at least appears to have heard them, finally stopping his work. He slowly looks up with his piercing eyes to gaze at the men who have intruded into his creative workspace. "Drop your weapon now!" the agent tells him. The man looks over at his hand, which still holds the large pair of scissors, and smiles. He gently places the scissors down on the table, careful not to let them touch the expensive cloth that is rolled out before him.
Okay.
"Now put your hands up!" This time, there's no response, and the man grips the edge of the table, smiling, and stares into the eyes of the agents.
Hands up!
First one, then the other. "Hands up or we'll be forced to shoot." The smile slowly leaves the handsome man's face.
Oh, God.
"Will you excuse me for one moment?" he says, though with no hint in his voice that it's actually a request.
What?
The agents seem unsure of what to do. Both of them appear taken aback and confused by his nonchalant attitude. The handsome man turns away from the agents and quickly steps behind a dressing screen
They
that's
let
been
him
set
do
up
that?
near his work table. As he walks behind it,
Well, the SCP
he doesn't break his
Foundation.
stride at all.
Not
He
cops.
simply passes behind the screen for mere seconds and steps out on the other side. Only once he steps out, it isn't him anymore.
Whoa.
The man that emerges from behind the screen is a completely different person. Where once he was slim, graceful,
Not really good looking.
clean-shaven, and dressed in a fine suit, now he is heavy in muscle, like a professional football player, with a thick beard and dressed as if he's a member of a SWAT team.
He's gonna fight him?
Before the agents can even react to the bizarre metamorphosis, the large man charges them and begins attacking. He
What?
snaps the neck of one and plunges the scissors he snatched off the table into the other's neck. More SCP
Yo!
specialists, these ones dressed in tactical
Why do you
gear,
shoot?
in an attempt made to disguise themselves as everyday police, flood into the room and open fire.
Oh my
the man
God.
who looks like a Navy SEAL picks up the fallen agent's guns and begins firing both at the same time.
Yo!
He outguns and outmaneuvers the agents, effortlessly rolling behind cover while constantly firing, taking out agent after agent. Screams fill the air, both from the dying SCP agents as well as the civilians who are struck through the walls by the onslaught.
Bro. This is actually crazy. Does he not only take the looks of the people or just random people, he takes like their profession? Like this guy became a Navy SEAL, not just that he looks like one. He is trained like one. Just like the fashion designer. Maybe he took this person's body and he was able to have the creative mind that that dude once had. And he's in possession with it now when he transforms him. This is actually really cool.
Including the manager, who had snuck back to the door window to watch what he thought would be the snobby, handsome man being taken into custody.
That's what you get.
The window behind the special ops soldier explodes, and two SCP agents repel through, catching him by surprise
Dang.
and knocking him to the ground. It takes even more agents rushing in to hold the man down as he struggles and screams like a wild animal, breaking one of their jaws for good measure.
Are you kidding me?
Finally able to subdue
Wow.
him and confine him with heavy-duty straps. When all is said and done, 17 agents and 10 civilians have lost their lives, but the anomaly has finally been contained. Once it is taken to a secured location, it is given a new designation, SCP-056, but the site staff soon give it a new nickname, calling it simply, a beautiful person.
Okay.
SCP-056 is one of the most deceptive and one of the most dangerous anomalies known to the SCP Foundation. It is a being whose size, gender, and appearance can all vary in an instant, and which will change in response to its environment.
Wow. So pretty much exactly what I figured, like someone compared to like Mystique from the X-Men. But this one looks way more complicated with his moveset because it seems like he takes the characteristics of the people he's actually changing into.
The form it has most commonly taken while in containment resembles a man who appears to be in his mid-20s. His exact looks will vary slightly, but he will always be what could be described as incredibly handsome, at least by traditional societal standards.
Yeah,
His
traditional.
clothes will change as well to be a style similar to those of other people around him, though they will always be of a higher quality and more
Bike.
aesthetically pleasing than anyone nearby is wearing.
Oh my god.
While that appears to be SCP-056's preferred form, it's far from its only one. In addition to the young man, it has also been observed taking on the appearance of several others, including a woman with a striking resemblance to Hollywood actress Scarlett Johansson, a form it took when walking past a group of a younger female staff, a male bodybuilder who can bench press over 250 kilograms, which was 30 kilograms more than the strongest security guard stationed at the Foundation site.
Dang.
It took the form of a female doctor who was measured as having an IQ score 30 points higher than any on-site researchers, as well as non-human forms, like a large, well-groomed Labrador retriever when it was exposed to another researcher's dog.
Are you kidding me?
And an extremely
And he's
aesthetically
blinged
pleasing
out.
couch when left alone in its own containment chamber. These changes from
Wait,
one form to
hold on.
another
He changed
occur
into a
whenever
couch
people
too?
lose researcher's dog. And an extremely aesthetically pleasing couch when left alone in its own containment
He
chamber.
could change to anything.
These changes from one form to another occur whenever people lose focus on the subject, something that seems to happen when new people are exposed to SCP-056. And once they lose focus, it's able to change in appearance virtually instantaneously.
Wow.
Attempts to film the transformation have resulted in the recording equipment exhibiting the same effect, seemingly losing focus, and being unable to see exactly what happens when SCP-056 changes from one form to another.
That's interesting. I wonder if the SCP knows when the camera's losing focus for him to change. Or is this something just on autopilot? And that makes sense why he wanted a moment to go behind those, those blinds or whatever.
Its clothing will change along with its bodily form, though so far it hasn't been observed manifesting weapons or other tools. Great efforts have been made to determine SCP-056's original form, though so far these have all been met with failure. When placed within an empty concrete cell and placed under constant video surveillance, the cameras experienced the same loss of focus that others did, and then were met with a rather surprising figure left in the room. SCP-056 had taken the form of a video camera, similar to the one being used to record it, though a slightly more advanced and expensive model.
Oh my
Additional
God.
attempts were made to discover its true form, this time without direct observation equipment, with researchers instead making use of passive scans that could detect changes to life forms. When they left SCP-056 alone and monitored it using these tools, what they found was nothing. There was no detectable body temperature, heartbeat, or even weight. It appeared that when not observed, SCP-056 simply ceased to be. Those who have personal contact with SCP-056 often report that the anomalous entity makes them feel substandard or jealous, as if they can't measure up to it, yet at the same time will seem to seek its approval. This extends to SCP security staff, who will express a desire to follow its commands.
That's legit how it is when you're an attractive person. Like, it's either people are jealous of you and they'll hate on you, or they will like you a lot and they want to become friends with you and like seek your approval, and, so they can like hang out with you. It's like a psychological thing. It's kind of crazy, but it's actually accurate with people that are really attractive.
While researchers will try to argue with it, something that usually results in them leaving its containment cell feeling as though they were outwitted by its intelligence.
Jealousy.
And SCP-056's expert communication abilities seem not to be limited by complex subjects or language barriers. Research has shown it to be fluent in at least 200 different dialects, and it has exhibited an expert level of knowledge in such varied topics as fashion, automobiles, theoretical science, sports, and a multitude of others, all of which it will usually show a greater knowledge of than the person it is conversing with. And despite leaving the conversations feeling dejected about their own abilities, those who talk to it will almost always express a desire to speak with SCP-056 again, as if they can't resist being made to feel inadequate by it. A number of tests were performed to discover just what form SCP-056 would take when presented with various situations, and the results were rather interesting. In the first, a male Class D personnel was given a knife and told to try and attack SCP-056. 056 quickly took the form of a young, fit man who was able to effortlessly disarm the attacking D-Class and killed him with the knife instead.
Get him!
In another test, a female D-Class entered its cell not with a weapon, but with a bottle of expensive wine. They were met with SCP-056 in the form of a young, beautiful woman who accepted the wine, but upon trying it, spit it out in the D-Class's face and sent them away. Next, researchers sent 2 D-Classes in at the same time, one male and one female, with
pink hair?
no specific orders at all.
Bro, what you doing?
SCP-056 appeared as a beautiful woman in a well-tailored business suit, who proceeded to examine both the D-Classes, pointing out their each and every physical flaw before sending them 2 on their way.
Oh my God.
Researchers then tried sending 10 Class D personnel into the cell, all of whom were male and who had expressed a romantic preference for females. SCP-056 appeared as an especially beautiful female in a low-cut red dress. 056 didn't interact with the group in any way, but after 10 minutes, the D-Classes began to look uncomfortable. Soon, an all-out brawl broke out between the D-Classes as they violently assaulted each other, apparently for SCP-056's approval. 056 seemed to watch the melee with pleasure for several minutes before calling an end to it and sending them all out. A member of staff then volunteered to be tested with SCP-056, a level 4 personnel who was regarded as being especially beautiful herself. She entered SCP-056's cell, where the anomaly took the form of a similarly beautiful, professional-looking woman, and the 2 proceeded to have a conversation, discussing various advanced personnel management techniques. The discussion seemed amiable, but after 90 minutes, the staff member appeared to become infuriated with SCP-056 and quickly left the room. While no cross-tests with other SCPs have yet to be performed, when asked about other anomalies, SCP-056 shows a rare instance of vulnerability, expressing hatred towards them, and even occasionally, fear. SCP-056 has been relatively benign in its time in SCP containment, seemingly content to spend its time around Foundation staff. It's been allowed to have a cell of its own choosing, as well as pick its own furnishings, which have tended towards expensive and fashionable decor. Security staff assigned to guard it are equipped with high-powered tranquilizers, and any staff that exhibit mental irregularities after extended exposure to SCP-056 must undergo immediate psychological examination. It has frequently asked for access to the internet, and when asked why it desires that, SCP-056 responded that the Foundation was unable to provide it with enough sycophants, and that it wanted the whole world to know its face. Needless to say, its request for internet access was denied, and the anomaly, which has been classified as Euclid, continues to be securely cut off from the general public, and remains in Foundation containment.
Wow.
Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr.
I mean,
Bob,
this SCP doesn't seem too dangerous unless you provoke him, to be honest. Because if no one's observing him, no one even knows he's a thing. Like, he doesn't exist, supposedly. Which is really, really cool. But, yo, this was actually crazy. I'm gonna have to read the file. Because I want to know if he's actually changing to these people with just imagination alone. Like, I thought he might be able to change into different beings that he saw in the past. Or, like, he sees right then and there. He could change into them. Like, Mystique, obviously, from X-Men. But it just seems like he could just change to anything that he thinks will fit the situation the best way possible. Just like how he turned to that younger guy that took out the D-Class that tried to kill him. Like, there was no other dude there for him to change into that. And the Navy SEAL, that was pretty convenient for him to take over a whole squad of SCP Foundation members. So it leads you to believe he could do more than just what meets the eye with just, you know, shape-shifting into the people that he sees. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this reaction, please let me know by smashing that like button. Also smash the sub button if you're not already part of the family, and hit that bell so you do not miss an upload. And let's try to get 100 likes on this video. This was a really good one, man. This was a dope one. It wasn't too, like, super scary or, like, super crazy, you know, like blood, gore, or whatever. But it was more interesting for me to, like, actually ask more questions. So, yeah. And if you guys have any answers to the questions I have, let me know in the comment section below. So, with that all out the way, unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.